All right, we're sitting here in the podcast studios. Gosh, it's a beautiful day.
It really is.
I mean, best day ever yet. I'm sitting here holding this massive book.
Textbook.
Textbook. This looks like a textbook I would have carried in college.
That might be the goal down the road. We'll see.
It's called Fuel Your Performance, 3-in-1 Elite. I'm sitting here with Abe Albaba. And Abe, we have known each other for how long?
3, 4, 5. Shoot, I don't know.
Quite a while. Where did we meet?
At my gym.
At the gym, okay.
While you doing pull-ups.
I was doing pull-ups.
Felt compelled to.
And I was probably doing them wrong. And Abe's like, here's how you can do it better. I'm like, I'm all ears.
Quality. You weren't doing them wrong. It was just, hey, let's feel the lats a little more.
Yes, get that lat action.
Yeah. I might have spewed out some brain stuff and you're like, wait, what?
Okay, that's how we connected, because
Yeah.
you were talking about how all of the muscles are connected to different parts of the brain, and then we started talking about the Brain Summit.
Yes.
And then we got onto that subject.
Oh, and your retreats.
And then the retreats, the luxury retreats here in San Diego, and you've participated in quite a few of them, helping our guests. So tell us what you do, Abe. How are you different? You're not a trainer. I wouldn't have you just sitting here saying, hey, let's talk about static performance drills, right?
Right.
I mean, the whole game has changed in terms of working out. It's not what it was for our parents or grandparents. We look at it completely different. Right. But you have an even more intricate approach that is so interesting to me. So tell our listeners what that approach is.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's the best way to sum it up, I found, is like a trainer doing strength and conditioning, but with applied neuroscience. So the title is Neuro Sports Performance Specialist. And what I do is basically, I get all kinds of people with very special cases, like people that come to you, like chronic pain and inflammation, seeing all these doctors, don't have any answers. Or I get an athlete, anywhere from youth to the pro level, that wants to improve their performance, or weight loss people. And basically I gather their health history. We do a sit down one-on-one and really figure out what goals they're trying to accomplish. And then from there, I get ideas on what parts of the brain may or may not be operating optimally. So based on that, we do some assessments. Gait is a big one, how someone walks. You could tell a lot about brain function just on how someone walks, purely because the way we walk is so intuitive, it's so automatic, it's autonomous. Mm-hmm. So that's going to tell me a lot. Mm. For instance, if I don't like to tell people what I look for when they walk, and I just stay silent. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, go take a lap. Like, all right, come back. And they're like, what is he doing? And I write some notes and they're like, okay, what? But it really tells me a lot. So one example would be if someone's foot is turned out to the right or to the outside, and their palm is turned inward, that's going to be an example of a right PMRF gait pattern. And your PMRF is a fancy word. It's in the brainstem. It's it's a webbing of the pons in the medulla. And it stands for pontomedullary reticular formation. And it does a lot of cool things. It helps with our autonomics. It helps controlling or inhibiting pain and even muscle tone on that side. So within those cranial nerves, I might have people do things like maybe they need some tongue work, maybe they need some vision work, maybe they need a bite on the right side. I don't know. But all these things can help them either increase their performance or decrease their pain.
Yeah.
So I'll watch how they walk. I might have them do some other kind of basic neuro tests, stuff you'll see a neurologist do, but they're looking for really major fails of these tests. I look at it as, even if it's a little off, we're not 100%. We want to be 100%. So I basically figure out drills that help improve their overall, I call it output, input and output. So basically, we identify an assessment. So if it's an athlete that wants to jump higher, run faster, I say, cool, be stronger or decrease pain. Have them do that activity, get them fully warmed up. All right, that's the best you got. Okay, cool. Based on the information that your brain is telling me, we're going to try these few drills. And it's pretty cool. I've had people run faster, like 0.1 or 0.2 seconds off a 40-yard dash, which is like big for, NFL kind of athletes.
Sure.
Jumping 1 to 2 inches higher.
Whoa.
Most trainers like try to get that result in a whole month. So it's just understanding that the brain controls all, and it's responsible for our overall output. It'll limit us if it doesn't have good information. So I like to, a little Neuro 101, okay? So all day, every day, your brain is getting input. It's deciding what to do with that information and interpreting it, and then producing that output, jumping higher, decreasing pain, whatever. And those three, it's basically three input systems. So our exteroception, that's your how the brain monitors our external environment through your sight, smell, hearing, things like that. Just your vision alone is 150 million neural signals every second. And then we got our interoception, which is something that you do real well. That's our feelings and our body self-awareness and ownership. Everything that happens around the gut, the organs, your digestion, your hydration, thermoregulation, things like that. So the feelings of how you feel like internally all the time. And the last one's the proprioception. So that's how well we move, our body's awareness in space. So like all the movement that we talk about, like moving the joints and things like that. So based on these three systems, your brain's like, okay, it wants to answer one question. Am I going to die?
Yeah. Am I safe, right?
Because we are wired, yes,
Yeah.
safety, right?
Yeah.
We are wired to survive. So based on good quality input, we produce hopefully a good quality output. And if we don't have good input, we're going to have bad output. So that's really what I do. I improve input for better output and do it pretty dang fast.
That's what I love about what you do is we can make such powerful changes, dramatic changes in the brain with simple adjustments like you were talking about how you chew your food, maybe biting more on one side because people aren't aware when they're chewing because it's something we do our autonomic nervous systems, like things that we do every single day that we don't think about. And to have someone like you come in and observe and say, hey, if you just change this simple thing, we could make some dramatic impacts in our performance or pain. So many people are dealing with chronic pain. I mean, it is an epidemic in our world.
100%.
And obviously, there's so much we can do with our diet and food and hydration, but the brain plays a huge part in that as well. And so I love when you were at the Brain Summit. We learned so much about the brain, and
I thought I knew some stuff.
So much fun. For my listeners that don't know, I'm the international director of the Brain Summit that's held here in San Diego once a year. We didn't have it last year because of COVID, but it is, I know, it's such a fun thing. So if you're listening, go to the brainsummitSD.com, check it out, and learn more if you want to come to the next summit. We have doctors from all around the world that come and talk about the brain, and we geek out on it.
Yeah. What I love is you're bringing I think one of your taglines is like bringing brightest minds around neuroscience all together.
Yeah.
And then we all thrive all together.
Yeah. Collectively just opening up the conversation about neuroinflammation and how can we show up together as a collective to make greater impact in the world.
Yeah. And, people don't realize like, hey, that little concussion or that time you got knocked out might have messed up some things.
Yeah.
That car accident, that, injury, whatever it may be, could have caused some issues. So
Absolutely.
That's why we go and test and see how we're doing.
And this is your expertise. This is what you do every day. So people can come to you and something that they're not even aware of, you can see it quickly, assess it, and then help them so that they can make that change and feel those differences.
Right. I think what's really cool, the process that I've learned is if you're not assessing, you're guessing. So,
Yeah.
like, I have an assessment that's going to tell us real fast. Either it's jumping, I have pain when I, bend over, whatever it is. We try a drill, and if all your pain goes away after that drill, we know 100% that's helping that nervous system, and maybe that's something you should do a couple times a day, and overall getting rid of the issue.
Yeah. How did you get into this? What got you excited about it?
I don't even know, man. I moved out here from North Carolina, and I met some bright minds. A professor at USD, Chad Macias, who's now a molecular oncologist. I think he has like a say in if you get diagnosed with cancer, he literally has a say in what nutrition is being prescribed.
Wow.
Super smart guy, especially with athletes, trained all kinds of people. And I'd be shadowing him, like training an NFL guy, and he'd say something like, he's done nervous system shutdown or something like that. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And he'll just be like, like too much to explain. And I was
Yeah.
like, so I
Too
don't know.
complex.
I think he like instilled that like little, thought like, oh, brain, like, what's that about? And I'm always looking for like the newest, coolest thing or like just trying to get information. A couple years later, I see a guy at my gym doing vision drills. And I was like, hey, man, like, I don't know what you're doing. It's weird, but I'm kind of into it. Like, what's up? And he didn't really tell me much. And I was like, okay. I went and discovered on my own and found the Z Health.
Super secret information, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then I started learning about Z Health. And really, it's such a remarkable curriculum, especially when I went to the Brain Summit. I knew some stuff, but being surrounded with people at such high caliber and being able to like hold conversation with them and understand what they're talking about and then show them other stuff they didn't know
Yeah.
about, I was like, I would alter that curriculum, that education. Dr. Eric Cobb, you're amazing human, and I appreciate everything that you do. And so it's like I'm about to finish the entire curriculum. I think it's 11 or 12 courses,
Yeah.
and it's all neuro-based. There's courses on just the neurology of speed, strength, nutrition, just the vision and the vestibular system, all kinds of cool stuff, stamina, um, things like vagus nerve and interoception. So it's really all of that and probably my crave for learning more. And I know just because I know we have like similar opinions about the education system and how it all works, and it's really not built to like actually have us learn and apply it in real life, you know? And that's what that curriculum does so well. Like you do like maybe 45, 50 minutes of lecture, and then like, all right, we're getting up and moving our brains and doing stuff, and then we're going to do application right after what you just learned.
Nice. Wouldn't it be so amazing if our kids went to school and learned like that?
Ah, and what's the coolest thing is once you take one course, you can take it for free for a lifetime. You can
Wow.
go back and repeat it. Because think about like courses we learned in college, like, you just studied for a test and like it went one ear out the other, you forgot about everything. So imagine if you just absorb. So I've been to courses repeat three, 4 times. You just like absorb so much more each time. It's real cool.
Yeah, I think that's so important, the application piece to education. For reading something in a book, it can have some benefit to us, but it's not until we actually go out and use it that we get to see that benefit with that application of it. So that's really fun. And I think that's something really cool about your book is it's quite interactive, it feels. It's not just a book that you read. You've taken that concept of, okay, we're going to apply this and it's what you have done in your book. So,
Yeah, I call it like blending education and application.
yeah.
So I wrote it like day one, day two, where it's like we know humans like, like sitting down and reading a book in a whole hour. So I thought it'd be better to like make it a little journey. Like, so we got day 1, day 2, it's 10 to 20 minutes a day. And like, there's little journals, and you keep learning and applying, and it just kind of builds on itself.
Yeah, it's really cool. You've got meal plans in here. I know
Yeah.
there's a little portion about hydration that
Yeah.
I think I helped
Get
you a little
into
bit
that.
with.
Yes, you did.
And that's pretty cool. Obviously, we know how important hydration is. What would you say for our listeners and the education that you have, the importance of hydration and the brain and our performance and our cognition, even pain levels, how that's affected by dehydration? Tell us a little bit more about that.
100%. So back to that like input system, input and output. So part of that input system is our interoception. So that's where we're gonna get all of our visceral organs and our thermoregulation. Huge from hydration, especially because whole body's around 60% water, and I think our muscles are like 79%. Your eye is like 93%. So water is very important. It helps lubricate the tissues. It helps absorb, like, so for athletes wanting to jump and explosive movements, it helps lubricate those tissues for explosive movement.
I like to call them juicy joints.
Yeah. So huge in our performance. It's going to help deliver everything that our cells need to thrive.
Yeah.
So it's funny, as I was researching, it took me like 5 years to put this thing together. And as I was researching, I wanted to like break it down to like 3 like pillars or core principles. So it's fuel your performance, because what's number 1 is our performance, whether that be mental or physical, like jumping higher or just crushing it at work. But it's got 3 principles of hydrate, fuel, recover. And hydrate is purposely number 1. Then fuel, then recover.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking my
so much
language.
synergy here. But yeah, dehydration can cause athletes to tire out more quickly because you're depleting your muscle glycogen stores, so the energy stored in our muscles to perform activity when you're tired. So it's going to deplete that earlier than it should, just from not having enough water, which is going to affect your decision making. You're going to be slower, your movements, and that all can potentially lead to injury. So something we don't want to do.
Yeah.
As well as it's going to affect your thermoregulation. So we want this core temperature of 98.6. I think the average is now like 96 to 99, but like, yeah, it's wild. We're kind of researching that. Couple ideas is either because we're more obese now,
Yeah.
and or it's because we're doing much different activities. It's like it's still out there, like we're still trying to figure it out, but super interesting, 96 to 99.
There's a lot of people that I meet that are just cold all the time. Cold hands, cold feet. It could be warm outside and they're cold.
Yeah. So the PMRF, the nerves that we were talking about in the brain, it controls a lot of that. So it could be a PMRF problem, could be a hydration problem, lots of factors. But yeah, dehydration can really affect your performance. It can, especially like in different environments. So we have hot and cold, so you may be sweating a lot in hot temperatures, which could lead to hyponatremia, which is low sodium in the blood, which can wreak a lot of havoc on the system. Don't want that to happen. And it's funny, my 7th grade teacher told me, too much of a good thing is always a bad thing. And I've kind of like, I like put it to the test, like as I like learn new stuff. I'm like, hey, you know what? She's right. So shout out Miss Young, I think. But yeah, so too much water can.
Shout out to Miss Young.
Yeah, right. Too much water can also lead to hyponatremia as well, because it can flood out the sodium and cause other issues as well. So in the heat, you don't want heat illness to happen, which leads to like heat cramps, heat exhaustion, then ultimately heat stroke where you're collapsing. So you always want to be hydrated. And my football coach, I'm like Man, high school was good, I guess, in middle school. But my football coach said, if you're thirsty, you're too late.
Yeah.
And I always loved that. And I actually like emphasize that in my little hydration section. And what it really means is just be proactive and always like taking sips throughout the day. Never get to the point where you're actually thirsty.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to regulate it.
A lot of people, their brain is not necessarily, doesn't have that sensory that it needs to even perceive that they are thirsty.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
So many people don't even know they're thirsty. And also, they're so out of tune with their bodies that they often think that thirst is hunger. They confuse thirst with hunger.
Yes. Yes.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the hypothalamus is what is a part of the brain where it's like tells us we're thirsty, we're hungry.
Yeah, lots of hormones. Yep.
Yeah, the hormones in our body that are signaling, and we are confused.
Yeah.
So many people are confused, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think about there's an epidemic of chronic dehydration. So when you're saying if you're thirsty, you're too late, or you're, going to go out for a run or do something, drink some water, typically just drinking some water in that moment is not going to, you're not going to be probably hydrated.
Right, and you don't want to play catch up.
Yeah, it's something that you do over the long term. In order to be hydrated, it's like I'm getting the right balance of minerals, I'm taking in the right amount of water, I'm getting the right movement, I'm, sunlight, grounding, all of those things for a period of time to actually get all of those cells, joints, everything lubricated and hydrated at the highest potential. I feel like a lot of people think, if I drink 32 ounces of water right before I go work out or do whatever, I'm hydrated. And that's really not, it's like you're going to drink it, it's going to go into your stomach. How balanced is your microbiome? Is your microbiome healthy? What's it going to do with that water? There's so many factors that go into it.
I like you touch on food, the water in our food. A lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah.
They say like, and we could talk about like how much water you actually have, but or need. Most people say like 8 cups a day, like average. Sure. That assumes you're getting 4 cups from fruits and vegetables. It's actually 12 cups, 4 from fruits and vegetables. So if you're not having those, you actually need even more.
You need more water.
You've touched on this, but foods that are, high in water is like, cucumbers, watermelons, things like that. So if you're not eating these fruits and veggies, leafy greens, you're probably not hydrated in that sense. And then something you pointed out to me is about the how it's already structured water as well. And I was like, oh wow, like
because your body doesn't have to work as hard when you're drinking informed water, structured water. Your body doesn't have to work as hard to create the structured water within the cell. And so you don't have to drink as much water to actually get your cells hydrated. So all of these things are a factor. Also, another thing to point out is how much dehydrated food are you consuming? Because then you're going to have to make up for that deficit. So if you're eating a lot of bread, crackers, cakes, cookies, every single day we got to think about the input. Yeah, that's been dehydrated. So if it goes into your colon and your gut, it's like needs some moistening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to pull from our own body's liquid in order to digest that and break it down.
Yep, 100%. I like that. I didn't go down that far on that rabbit hole, but like I love that aspect. It's funny you're talking about things that block like thirst signals. For any athletes or anyone living in cold environments, that's what happens in cold environments. It could block those thirst signals, probably as a survival mechanism, right? There's other things that are more important, maybe shivering, which burns like a lot more calories too. But those can block. So being hydrated in cold temperatures can really be tricky. especially because you're probably wearing heavier clothes, so you're probably sweating more. So it's a little tricky, but again, if you're just always baby sipping and eating the right foods, no need to worry.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on hydration in the brain besides the signaling agents from the hormones and the hypothalamus output? What other parts of the brain could people look at and say, I'm not getting hydrated, or my body isn't perceiving that I need to intake more hydration? Because I've met so many people, they're like, yeah, I just don't have that thirst signal. I don't feel thirsty.
Yeah.
So they'll go get a cup of coffee or whatever, and they never even know. And then they're going through their life chronically dehydrated. One day they wake up and their liver is suffering. And it's like, oh, that's connected. It's not just something that happens overnight. Children in preschool, you think about these little kids, they feed them a little cup of apple juice, these tiny little Dixie cups. You get your little apple juice and your little cookie, They start out from 2 years old being dehydrated. I mean, we have an epidemic of dehydration in our country, and we're taught from little kids these ways, these I don't know, these type of entrainment basically that we have in our habits. And these habits are typically not the optimal for hydration. So how does somebody know, or how can they work on their brain to optimize it so the brain's more in touch with what the body needs?
Yeah, I love that. And what I think about in that regard is the interoceptive system, and more specifically, probably vagus nerve. So that's cranial nerve 10. It sits in that medulla, and it does a lot of cool things. I think of it, or I was told to think of it, as a data collector of everything going on in your gut. So everything around those visceral organs. Your vagus nerve is collecting data from liver, kidneys, small intestine, whatever, lungs, and saying, hey, here's how we're doing, and here's how we're doing all the time, because those are things that keep us alive all day, every day. So if your vagus nerve is off,
Okay.
then we know we're probably not getting thirst signaling. There's probably some digestion problems happening, and all kinds of other issues. Breathing's a huge one. So how do we stimulate vagus nerve? How do we test vagus nerve? One good test that I have in the book is swallow 3 times in a row.
Okay.
And what you should, yeah, go ahead.
I'm doing it. All right.
Nice, cool. So what you'll see, and that's what's supposed to happen, it should happen like within like about 1 second of each swallow. But if you're getting into like, getting that like real struggle in the throat, and you'll be surprised how many people can't swallow 3 times in a
Really?
row.
3 times in a row, 1
Yeah.
second apart. They can't do it.
Yeah. And so if you see that delay, or they'll get like the first 2, and then that third one, just another
Like
world.
it's dry and stuck.
Yeah, they got to like look for saliva and stuff. That tells us it's probably a vagus nerve issue.
Okay.
So if you can't swallow 3 times in a row without a delay.
All right, everyone, try it right now.
Yeah,
Swallow
right?
3 times in a row,
Yeah.
1 second apart.
Yeah, so that's one good way to test it. There's also the dangly thing in the back of the throat. I have people open their mouth and go, ah, 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 ah. And that dangly thing is supposed to dangle straight down, straight center. But you'll see actually I took a picture of a guy yesterday. His dangly thing was all the way to the left.
What is that called in the mouth?
Oh man.
We're going to have to look
I
that
have
up.
a word,
I don't even
but
know what
like,
that is called.
Where's Jamie on Joe
We're
Rogan?
stumped
Look
right
up
now.
Google.
We're going to have to look that one up.
You-
Someone Google it.
It starts with a U. I don't want to say, uvula, maybe. Anyway, so that thing, the vagus nerve is supposed to keep it centered. So if it goes to the left, that indicates a right vagus nerve issue. If it goes to the other side, it's left.
Okay.
So what to do about that? It's like, oh man, like I have these issues. I'm my thirst signaling's off, my hunger is off, my digestion is off. That's why I'm thinking more vagus nerve. And oh, you know what? I can't swallow 3 times in a row. My dangly thing is, whoa, that's all the way to the
So
left.
someone just open their mouth, look in the mirror, or have someone else look?
It might be hard for yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see that thing back
You might be
there.
able to see it in the mirror. I don't know. You can get creative.
That's where the
Take
phones come
phone,
in.
yeah.
That's where the phones come
Selfie
in.
with your,
Always
back of
right
your
by our
throat.
sides, those handy dandy little
Yeah.
phone cameras.
So yeah, what you can do to improve vagus nerve, and everyone's different. So again, I like to assess. So either use your assessment as either the swallowing, see if your swallowing improves or that delay decreases, or you could even, a range of motion test, like a flexibility test, strength test, whatever. But here's a couple things I mentioned in the book, humming. So you could just take 2 fingers by your throat and go, and then you might feel that one side has more vibration than the other.
Okay.
And then you want to get more in tune and try to drive more vibration to that side.
Awesome.
So that's one way to isolate that. Gargling. So you take some water and because that vagus nerve is a lot of throat and tongue work is involved to stimulate it, as well as vibration. If you have an electric toothbrush, this is a great one. This part of your ear, take an electric toothbrush and for about 2 minutes.
So the upper inner part of your ear. Not inside your ear.
Not. It's like, well, don't take the tooth. So what I tell people is the cap that
Caution.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't put the toothbrush
Yeah,
inside
and then
of
go
your
brush
ear.
your teeth. Yeah, don't do that. But grab the cap of the toothbrush or just Ziploc bag or something. So there's like a barrier, or any vibration, thing that you have, and stick it in that part of your ear. It's like not in the ear where the earwax is, right above that. On the right side or left, and see what that does for you, and then retest your swallow or any other assessment.
And also, if anybody wants to see where Abe's pointing to, you can go to our YouTube channel, and the show is up on YouTube. TracyDews.com.
So yeah, we got humming, gargling, tongue work. So you can stick your tongue to one side of the cheek. So if I want to do vagus nerve, so nerves that are wired together fire together. And the tongue's heavily involved with vagus nerve. We can stick that tongue to the opposite side. So right vagus nerve, I stick my tongue to the left, and I could draw circles. And I could do about 10 circles each direction. And when I have people do some of that, they get tired.
Drawing the circles in their mouth?
They get fatigued, which
That's
tells
kind of
us,
good.
yeah, yeah, so-
Like, I don't know if I've ever done this before.
right, one way or the other.
It's good to just do something different.
Yeah, so those are all ways you can improve that vagus nerve. And then so in my book I have an assessment sheet. Like every 30 days we reassess and see how you're doing. And it's all like 1 to 10 scales, anywhere from like fatigue, sluggishness, soreness, your recovery time after workouts or after life. How well you're sleeping, all these things, and you get like an overall score.
Yeah.
And you could take that test before and then do these drills and then take the test after, and you might be feeling a lot different. You could take pictures too, body fat, whatever, and see if whatever you're doing is in fact improving, yourself. And I like to call it's not a diet book. It's a guide to optimize your nutrition and lifestyle. And we're all individual, we're all unique. So I just give you tools to figure out what works for your own unique body.
Yeah.
Because what thrives for me may not thrive for you.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that. It's a assessment, diagnostic, and then you give ways to treat.
yeah.
That's really cool.
And it's all like, because like another part where like diets, quote unquote diets, get it wrong is too much information and like less application. So I have like a habit change section, and we're always driving home that you're just going to try like 2 new things. And you want to start with the lower hanging fruits and again, hydrate. So if I'm not getting enough water, maybe that's like where I start. First two things I look at is like hydration and sleep.
Yeah.
Those are
I'm sure you see a
huge.
big improvement just when people start to change those habits.
Oh yeah, it's when I meet with people, if I'm doing like a one-on-one nutrition coaching or whatever, um, I look at that. I get a food log, and in there you could do a food log about like 3 to 5 days, just to get a gauge of. I want the good, the bad, the ugly. What are your good days like? I love when like people food log and like they're like, all right, I'm gonna do like my best day.
Yeah, because I'm logging.
Right? It's like, wait, no, like if
Just do your
if
normal.
we actually want to make a change and a difference,
Yeah.
I want to help you. So I need to know about the worst day,
Yeah.
you know? So what causes that terrible day? We have this thing called the shrink your danger window. So some people might not have a crazy nutrition problem, and of their 200 hours in the week or however many hours are in the week, maybe their problem is Monday through Thursday at 8 to 10 p.m. I have my bad snacks. So you don't have a 24/7 problem. You have a 2 times 4 8 hour window of the entire week
Yeah.
that you have an issue. So maybe we just need to figure out, hey, when you get that craving, take your dog for a walk or take yourself for a walk
Yeah.
and see if like that, because all this is about habits, right? So for habits, we have triggers and cues. So some kind of trigger or cue, I just finished dinner and I got to go, I go watch TV, and then like that's when I get like my snack. So maybe watching the
Yeah.
TV is your trigger and cue to do your habit of, I don't know, like ice cream.
Oh, I like that. So just change that.
So change your trigger.
Change your
So
trigger.
instead
Like,
of TV, hey, go for a walk. And then come back. Watch your TV. But do that
Yeah.
walk first.
add that little step
Such
in.
a like little thing. And
Well,
I just had a guy drop 4.5 pounds. He was having ice cream every night. Not much. He's like, oh, it's low calorie, this and that. I'm like, cool, whatever. Hey, I actually exactly that. Go for a walk instead. Take a walk for your wife. Spend time with your wife or your dog, whoever your loved one is. 4.5 pounds in like a week.
Whoa, that's huge.
I didn't
That's
tell him to
huge.
change.
Yeah. No one wants to have things taken away.
No.
So maybe we add. That's fine. You can have your ice cream after, but go for your walk first.
Yeah, and
Like
then,
you said, neurons that fire together wire together. So you're
Yeah.
just entraining your brain
yeah,
to have a different habit.
right. It's the
I
habit
like
loop.
that.
Trigger, cues, habit to get the reward.
Yeah. All right. Oh, little Toby scratching his head right now. I was just thinking about how we were having some difficulty with my dog, and we got the pleasure of hanging out with Caesar Milan. And I said, hey, my dog is, I have troubles with him. He just doesn't obey, he doesn't listen. He's like, here's the
Poor guy.
formula. The formula is simple. They have to work for their affection. They have to work for their food. They have to work for the couch. They have to work for it all.
Yeah.
And he goes, same for people.
Yeah.
Kids, they've got to work. They have to earn it. And, when it's like we earn something, like go for the walk to earn the ice cream, you're going to feel better about it. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I can still have that ice cream, but I'm going to earn it. And then maybe you're not going to want it afterwards.
Exactly.
And
that's
also-
the key.
yeah,
It
that's-
blocks the signal. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm over it.
Yeah,
I
you're
actually
over it.
don't need that ice cream.
That's how I trained myself not to like sweets. When I was, I think, in college, I remember I just decided, I was like, I don't want to have desserts when everyone's having dessert. It's not producing the results that I desire in my body. So I told myself, I didn't take it away, but I told myself, hey, I can still have that dessert, but first I'm going to try a piece of fruit just to test
Look at
myself
you.
and see.
So
Maybe I'm
intuitive.
craving something sweet. My brain needs some glucose, or I've eaten something salty and my body's contracted and it wants to expand a little bit, so I need a little bit of sugar. So I didn't tell myself I couldn't have the dessert. I just said, I'm going to add another step.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that dessert anymore afterwards. And I really don't eat dessert at all. I mean, it's very rare. Another thing I told myself was, everyone's sitting around the table eating dessert, and if I can just power through these 10 minutes that it takes people to scarf this down, afterwards, I'm going to be the one that didn't eat it, and my body's going to be so happy with me for it. If I can just power through this, you know? Not saying dessert's bad. It's one of the pleasures of life. I think it's great. But every night to be having a bowl of ice cream, you know, you might want to think, is this producing the results that I desire in my body?
Yeah.
You know?
You'd love, so my biggest section in there is weight loss, because it's so damn confusing.
Yeah.
And it's because it needs to be completely individualized. But at the end of it, I was like, you know what do I think about, like, when I eat, and like what makes people overeat? So I like summed it up, and then I call it the mindfulness fuel scan. So think about like why we're eating. So while you're eating, it's a little spectrum. Am I hydrated? Am I actually hungry? Am I just thirsty? Is it just a habit because it's breakfast? I'm going to go eat breakfast. But maybe you're not even hungry, because every single day is different. You exert energy differently. Maybe it's your environment. Maybe it's because I have a bag of potato chips sitting right next to me on the TV,
Right.
and that's another part of the spectrum, distractions.
Yeah.
TV, social
Or
media,
bored.
all that. So because of that bag of chips is right there, I'm going to keep going for it and overeating because of that. Another strategy I had for a client, hey, I want you to have your chips, but go put it in a bowl and then put it in the bowl. Don't have the bag of chips out. So what we did there is a little mind game, but like he portioned it out and still ate them, but getting another bowl was so much energy. Oh, I gotta go to the kitchen. I gotta load it up again.
And it makes you think about it too.
Yeah.
You're becoming more mindful. Ooh, I'm getting a second helping of potato chips.
And then again, you just get over it. Oh, you know what? I don't even need that. And he just texted me the other day. You know what? I haven't even needed anything at night.
It's all mind games, right?
Yeah.
One thing that helped me was, I think same thing when I was in college, I started to become more mindful of how fast I was eating, just scarfing food down. And then like
that.
Also you put a bite of food in your mouth and you're already grabbing the next bite, not enjoying the food you're chewing. Well, at least that's what I noticed I was doing. It'd be like shoveling the next, picking up all the things on my plate that I wanted for the next bite when I already had this flavorful, amazing bite of food in my mouth that I wasn't even paying attention to because I was so worried about what was next. So what I decided to do when I observed that about myself was, I'm going to start having a cup of hot tea with every meal, because hot tea makes you slow down because it's hot. Like you got to sip it, right?
Okay.
So I would get a cup of hot tea, and in between each bite, like have the bite, chew it, but not have my fork. Like I made a conscious effort that I'm not going to be holding my fork. I'm going to put my fork down in between each bite, chew the food, then take a sip of my hot tea, then go back. And then it just changed my whole brain wiring, reframed everything for me.
100%.
And yeah, my eating experience completely changed. It became more pleasurable. It was like, oh, wow, that's like the best bite of chicken I've ever had, you know? I remember, I think that changed because I had a friend in college who was smoking pot, and she was like, have you ever eaten when you're smoking pot? She's like,
that's funny. That's where my brain went when you were talking about that. I was like, yeah, it's like when you smoke weed.
I went to the refrigerator and I was eating this chicken and I was dipping it in this ketchup, and she's like, it was the best ketchup and chicken I've ever eaten. And I was like, why? Oh, because her brain was kind of like slowed down, enjoying everything,
more aware.
Yeah. Everything became more pleasurable, and I thought, I can do that. I can create that in my own mind if I want to.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, for her listeners, like, This girl is so freaking intuitive. Like for me, I like learned this stuff, so I was fortunate. But that example she's talking about right there, like let me break that down scientifically. So when we eat slowly, the first 20% of absorption happens on your tongue for the food. So when we swallow really fast, you deplete or deprive your brain and your body of absorbing the first 20%.
Whoa.
You know, I have in there my the energy balance. Like we talk about calories in versus calories out, but it's like really way more complex than that. So it's actually the calories in minus the calories not absorbed.
Whoa.
You know, and it's actually very hard to calculate.
Yeah.
So anyway, by slowing
That's something your
down-
mother didn't tell you.
Yeah, right. By slowing down, you get that absorption, you get the flavors, and you guess what? You give your brain more, or your gut brain, your enteric nervous system, time to communicate to your brain, hey, I'm full,
Yes.
by eating more slowly. Because a lot of people, that's part of my little spectrum. Eat slowly. You know, put your fork down in between
Put your
bites.
fork down.
Look
Put
at
that dang
Yeah,
fork down.
yeah. So these are all reasons why we overeat. And it's just simple stuff.
Simple things.
You know, that's one of the first things too you could try is count, like if, all right, so if you have a favorite food, I don't know, like a burger, let's just say, count how many, eat it normally, but count how many chews, how many, you know, bites you take before you swallow.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, just count.
Yeah.
Some people's 3. Oh, that's easy.
But
Got it, done.
enjoy too while they're counting.
Yeah, well,
Taking
so
that
it's more of
pleasure.
an awareness. So, oh, you know what? I only chewed it 3 times and I swallowed. It's supposed to be around like 20.
Yeah.
The rule of thumb, it's very hard as a past fast eater myself, like growing up Mediterranean, like we had like 3 appetizers, 3
Oh my
main
gosh, that hummus.
courses. Yeah,
I could down like a
everything.
gallon of hummus in one sitting. I wanted
Yes,
to.
and my mom's a dang good cook too. I was very fortunate in our culture. Like we didn't have dessert, but we had fruit instead.
Nice.
And just that, like like the
You
cakes.
guys do a lot of peppermint tea as well, right?
Yep, do tea. Yep. And that in itself, what you get from the fruit is you get real natural sugar.
The enzymes.
Yep, and then you get fiber with it. That's the big
Yeah.
one. So the fiber is going to help you stay fuller for longer, as well as you're not going to need 3-4 bananas, but
Yeah.
probably the same amount of calories will be in like many slices of cake,
Right.
you know? So anyway,
And the fiber helps slow down how quickly that sugar goes into your system. It's almost time released. So that helps out a lot too. So this concept that we're talking about can also be and should also be translated. I don't like the word should. We have the opportunity to translate this to what we're drinking. So a lot of people gulp down water. How about put water in your mouth, hold it for a second, enjoy it, let it absorb into the epithelial tissue, let your brain connect with the fact that you're going to be taking this in. Maybe even chew it a little bit, which sounds weird, but it's going to help with the absorption of it. Then swallow it. Because just that gulping of water is just going to send a bunch of gas and water into your stomach. And it's not going to be as productive as if you are mindful of what you're drinking. I always say eat your liquids. So if you're having a smoothie, chew it. Just kind of chew it in your mouth. It sounds weird, but try it and see how you feel afterwards, because we're so used to just gulping things down.
And that'll be excess calories too, because the liquids are much more easily digestible.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to just pound. It's actually
Yeah.
one of my weight gain strategies, liquids.
Well, and I think it depends though, because anybody that knows me comes over to my house and they're like, Tracy, you're just constantly drinking elixirs. And it's like, I kind of am. I'm making them all day long. And I could benefit from probably counting all of the calories that I drink in my elixirs. Yeah, but it's like I'm happy with the weight that I'm at and it's working for me. So I think there is something to that liquid. I don't have a liquid diet. I eat a lot too, but I definitely consume a lot of nutrients and liquids. Mhm. Yeah. Here's to the elixirs. Well, I love this. So much fun information. These are such gem drops that can change people's lives. Just these little things.
And just speaking about like hydration, right now I'm fasting, and like so during this month of like Ramadan, we don't have any food or water. A
Yeah.
lot of this trend on fasting, I'm like, hey, I've been doing this since I was like 9, and like
Yeah.
we don't drink water, and that I could do without the food, but the water is a
It's
whole another
hard.
game changer. But like you're talking about letting the water, like when you sip it, I can't tell you like when I break my fast. So it's sun up to sundown, and when I eat at like 7:15 tonight, I break my fast on water.
Yeah.
And man, that first drip down you
Feels
feel
so
it
good.
all the way through, and you're just like,
Oh.
it really makes you appreciate water.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I think, what if you tried, instead of drinking water, Quinton bile?
Oh yeah.
That could be interesting to see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try it. All right, so you and I are going to head out to the lawn and we're going to do some
Yeah.
stuff. You're going to check out my gait, how I walk. We're going to do some little drills together. So if you guys are listening to this,
She's a basketball goal.
oh, I'm going to do a dunk test? All right. So if you guys are listening to this, head on over to my YouTube channel so you can watch all of the fun stuff that Abe's going to do with me right now. But thank you so much, Abe. If anybody wants to purchase your book or learn more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so my company's 3-in-1 Elite. So that's 3 systems, 1 athlete. That's that 3 input systems for every 1 elite athlete. So it's at 3-in-1 Elite. My book is at Feel Your Performance. And you could it's got all the information on IG. If not, you can go to www.3in1elite.com. That's the number 3, the word in, I as in indigo, N as in Nancy. People always mess that up.
Yeah.
The number 1, elite.
That's right, the number 3. And you can get your book on Amazon as well, right?
Yep, it's on
Okay.
Amazon. I'm just relaunching my website to make it way easier to purchase the book. And it's cool. I have so I have jokes in my book. It's you learn how to become an FYP nutrition ninja.
Okay.
So the
Become a
nutrition ninja, basically you learn, how to always be on your game 24/7. Because we always have things in life that, like I go and get invited to a family barbecue and like, oh man, I'm gonna go overeat, eat all these bad stuff. But nutrition ninjas have their little strategies to
Yeah.
like stay on their game or be at peace with what's about to happen.
That's right.
So anyway, so you learn how to become an FYP nutrition ninja in my little 6-week program and challenge.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool. It's kind of like hand holding, guiding you through the book. You basically read it as it's written, day 1, day 2, and at the end of the week you get Spark Notes or like a Reader's Digest email on Saturdays. And then you could either do a group coaching call and we talk about that week and what you're noticing and what help you need with, and it's all the way through 6 weeks. And we keep track.
Cool.
And
I'm going to have to do this myself.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank
It was
you.
lovely to have you. And let's head on over and do our drills.
yeah, let's do it.
All right.